Okay, so I said in one of my initial videos that this channel is also for those who love to geek out about the science and, all of the historical findings and the evidence for God. So I do want to share something to consider, especially for those who are atheist or agnostic, and really grappling with some of the evidence and what that is. One thing I'd like to share is that as an atheist, I was really dead set that everything is measurable, everything is scientifically explainable, and anything beyond that, like supernatural, beyond the physical, just had no meaning. It didn't exist. And I really, I clung to that belief. But even as a staunch atheist, there were a couple things about just evolution that didn't quite make sense. And now there's science to back this up. So those two things are cellular complexity and the massive gap between the animal kingdom and human beings. So let's actually start with the second one. One thing I noticed was that, okay, if evolution is true, how it was defined by Darwin, how does that explain why there's this gap between human beings and the animal kingdom? Because to me, logically thinking, if evolution were true, maybe there'd be a little bit more variety. Some species might have evolved a little bit more. Instead, there's just this massive gap. And looking back, it makes sense. In the Bible, it says that people were created in God's image. So that part of us that is God created, that soul part of us, right, that is in the image of God and can create, is creating. If you look, I created a list the other day. I created a list of everything that God created. Let's assume that intelligent design is in fact a fact. And I was like, okay, so if intelligent design is the truth, here's a list of everything God created. I mean, this list was massive, from toadstools to narwhals, to microbiome. And that leads also to the complexity piece, right? Cellular complexity. The complexity of the systems inside of our body are mind-blowing. The complexities inside of the cells, mind-blowing. But let's put all that aside for just a minute. That's a whole different conversation. So just looking at everything that God would have created as the creator was massive. Next, I thought, okay, now what have people created? Look all around me, except that plant. All of this we've created. And so much more. Again, another massive list, from astrophysics to stamps to how we package our foods. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Toothbrushes, toothpaste, tires. I mean, it's just on taxes. Don't get me started how much we've overcomplicated because we don't connect with the bigger picture, which God does. So God's creations are not as complex. No, I shouldn't say that. God's creations are complex. They're not overcomplicated, and they work together in a really balanced, synergistic way. Whereas people, our egos step in, and all of a sudden we've created these systems that are way overcomplicated and often cause more harm than good. But that aside, you've got people created in the image of God. You've got God as a creator, both creating tons of things, massive gap between the human species and the animal kingdom. So let's look at that gap. So I went online and I asked good old Google AI, what do animals create? And the answer was pretty simple. Animals don't really create things like people do. So there really wasn't much of a list. Now, animals do, they make shelters, nests, they put some things together. They have the ability to use things to do something. That's it. That's it. There wasn't poetry, art, intimacy in the same ways. There wasn't developed spirituality. My work in integrative coaching tells us and shows us how there's 8 domains of human potential within us. 8. So we have the capacity to develop spiritually, cognitively, emotionally, motivations in life, our life purpose, all these different ways. So I just invite you to consider the amazing facts. And this is just observational. I haven't even gotten to the documented science. Just some fun things to consider is how God has created us in his own image, and therefore we are creative. And the one thing that's so fascinating is that, again, because we have free will, we can choose to create good, or we can choose to create overly complicated systems that cause harm. So which side do you choose? I choose God.